kids. You want to hear about bicycle talk?
Welcome back, friends, to the grooviest cycling show on the planet. This week we check in with Sun 2 Factory team member Kristen Wade and 2018's Miss Xterra. And with the Tour de France happening just across the pond, we get you started with tour basics. Also, we check in with Mike Nichols from his 600K and those pesky saddle sores. Welcome back, friends, to Crank Revolution. And here's our show.
3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Welcome now to the Crank Revolution podcast, your source for cycling shenanigans. Listen now to our hosts, the purveyors of pedals, as we teach you more about cycling every single episode. So sit right back, pop a cold one, and enjoy our show.
Whoa. Who's this imposter over here?
We have a special sit-in today. It's Mike Nichols, sponsored rider of the Crank Revolution Bike Shop. So welcome back to another episode of the Crank Revolution podcast. The best part about podcasting is they can't cancel you on the network. We're everywhere, and we keep ending up in more and more podcast players, and they just can't cancel us.
No matter how
That
hard
sounds
they
like a
try.
challenge. I should not have challenged Apple or anyone else to do that. Yeah, someone is having that moment. But we have a very special episode today. We do.
We do?
We have Mike Nichols in the studio sitting in for
Oh,
Chris.
God, no.
See,
God,
believe it or
I
not-
forgot he was here already.
Well, Chris is out for scientific experimentation on his perfect male physique and specimen. He's probably like dripping his sweat into a 5-gallon bucket and seeing how it's sold to small third world countries or something. I have no idea.
Oh, they filter that for...
It's for pheromones. It's like a perfume, probably. On today's episode, we've got an
Big shoes to fill.
amazing interview, though, with somebody. We have Kristen Wade from Xterra, Miss Xterra 2018.
That is correct.
Also a firefighter and like 20 other amazing achievements. And we also have Mike Nichols in, who just completed his 600K. How many miles is that?
About 375 miles.
But first, before we do that, we're going to get started with this week's Bikes and Beer. We have a new beer here at Crank Revolution. Pop a cold one. This one's for you. What do we have, Greg?
We've got a beer.
It is a beer.
Elk Grove, Illinois, from Microphone Brewery. Not microphone like what I'm speaking into, but microphone. The beer we have today is called Another Brick in the Walnut. This is a oatmeal raisin cookie inspired imperial brown ale with raisins, walnuts, and spices. And fun fact, this is actually a collaboration with Listerman Brewing. It'll get you drunk. It's 10.5%.
Oh, good Lord.
And tastes like oatmeal cookies. That's perfect. So why don't we pop that open? Let's
We're
break
gonna
it.
get drunk
Where
on
is our
fruitcake.
park tool opener? That's a bottle. It's like a wine bottle.
It is. It's actually
is?
750 milliliters.
Which is a
what
wine
in
bottle.
miles, Mike?
Do it, you're a metric boy.
All right, I'm confused.
All right, anyhow, pour that out. Let's see how it looks here. We're putting it into a once defunct bicycle company glass.
Gurgle.
Gurgle, gurgle. Oh, that's a short pour. Oh, he just doubled the pour for Merck.
And for the host with the most.
Oh, it smells like alcohol, though, because I think I just sterilized my nose taking a whiff. I was like,
a lot of
oh.
alcohol.
All right, let's
Here we go.
taste it. Oh, that's smooth. Oh,
You know, drinking does not have to be a audio experience.
yes,
Jeremy.
it does.
It really
On a
does not.
podcast, it does. Well, that is a great beer, but now let's move over to something very exciting.
All right, guys. You know what? It's the most exciting time of the year for me as a cyclist. It is the Tour de France. Exactly. It is Christmas in July for me. Tour de France time is coming up. It's the 105th edition of the Tour de France, right?
Yep.
No,
And then
106.
106.
at counting above 100, it's okay if you get
It's-
one off.
Yeah, if you miss it.
But-
But the most exciting thing is it's 100 years of the yellow jersey,
True.
which is the race leader's jersey.
Oh, yes.
So you mean when I get on my bike, I can't just wear a yellow jersey?
Oh, God, no, you have to earn that.
What does the yellow jersey mean?
It's the race leader.
Does it change, though, from race to race?
It-
Because there's multi-day.
No, it does not change from race to race because it's multi-day. That is a good question, though. It signifies the leader of the race. So you can spot him if you're looking above the race, you can see the yellow jersey. You know who's going to be in the lead.
Oh, so it's really just because they're watching it all from a helicopter.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But if you're also in the crowd, you'll notice the yellow jersey come flying by you.
So how many days is this race?
21 days.
21 days, 2 rest days. This year there is a team time trial.
Oh, I overlooked that one.
So team time trial is one of my favorite styles of racing that exists within the Tour de France. Yeah, stage 2. So that is, you have the different cycling teams. And so, yeah, teams have, I think it's the 5th man to cross is where the time is marked off of.
Ooh.
So you have a team that usually starts with about 8 riders, all on full aero, just the most efficient method of riding. The weaker guys are going to be the ones to pull off in the start. They're going to do the most amount of work because as they get tired, they'll just drop away because they only need 5 guys to finish. The fifth rider is the one they set the time off of.
So
Do
3
they also
can
get
crash
hamburgers?
and it still counts.
Well, yes. Yeah, 3 could crash or 3 could just burn themselves out to where they
Don't
put in enough
finish.
effort and then just
Wow.
cooked off. Yeah.
That's clever.
But being that it's team, are they drafting off of each
They're,
other? Or
they're riding in a
really tight?
awkwardly tight formation. And
Awkwardly or scary?
you shouldn't be able to ride that close to someone at those speeds on a road course.
What do you mean those speeds?
Upwards of like averaging 32 miles an hour.
That's fast.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, so they're right off each other's wheels, which is scary enough,
Mhm.
but then they're also, you said, like the most aero bikes possible, and are they also wearing
Which-
those skin suits
Oh, yeah.
that are
it's-
like
it's
scuba
full skin
suits?
suit.
Yep,
It's
scuba
They're like
suits.
scuba suits. They're skin tight, but you can see everything.
well, so yeah. I mean, you're talking now.
You mean just like a painted on?
They
suit.
look like they're painted
yeah,
on.
they
They're
are
so
effectively
thin.
painted on. We've gotten to like aerodynamic fabrics are being used, shoe covers that are from the cleat up everywhere that you can save from a aerodynamic
Shave
perspective.
the eyebrows.
Well, that's been covered by sunglasses. Or actually, no, it's been covered by a visor on the aero helmet to make the rider's face more aerodynamic, which is a fun thing to say.
Oh.
Sorry, your face is really slow.
Your face is real aero right now. But yeah, so that's just
You look like you
that's
got
the
a
team time
slow
trial.
face.
So that's one day. That's one of my favorite days because it's such a difficult technical stage for the teams to try and ride, and the crashes in that are usually pretty epic, especially if there's any inclement weather. If there's any rain down, that day will literally you'll have riders explode.
Well, so how many days is it total?
21.
21, but you have 2 rest days, so really it's 19.
No, it's 21.
Yeah, it's 21.
Oh, 21 with
It's
2 rest
with
days.
2 rest
Michael
days.
Jordan,
It's 3
23.
weeks.
What are some of these other parts of the race then?
So you have flat races, which are where the sprinters come out and play. I think the fastest sprint was somewhere around the 50 or 60 miles per hour.
Yeah, 50 plus in a flat sprint or like
And-
a slight negative 1% grade.
Right.
So for you guys that are new out there, imagine having to pedal your bike 50 miles an hour in like a place like Illinois. Just,
You don't have to imagine
everyone
that.
can do
No.
that.
When
But
you're commuting into work, roll down your window right now. Now stick your head out there. Assuming you did
Arrow
not crash.
your face first.
Yes.
Arrow your
their
face.
face.
But the best way to kind of really think about this is to put it all into like proper perspective. And yeah, like we're going to talk about the sprinters. The sprinters, their jersey is not the yellow jersey. The sprinters are not going to be the overall fastest rider in the field. The sprinters are working for the green
Specialists.
jersey. They're the specialists. Yeah, this is what they do.
Well, and how long is a stage? In miles. The
So-
reason I ask is they don't sprint the whole stage.
No, and so the stages range in their distance as you kind of get past the opening stage, which is typically a little bit shorter, and then the team time trial. Then you get to these typically about 120 miles. They're rarely shorter than 80 in terms of a full
Right,
stage, rarely longer than 160 miles. That's our range, and so it's a lot, but it's 21 days, nonstop, day by day. And you have to keep going. And so what's so fascinating about the sprinters that can hit, up to like 50 miles an hour while riding is that they did that Monday. And then guess what? They show up again on Tuesday and do it again because, that green jersey, so that's the points jersey for the sprinter. There are intermediate sprints. It's not just the last point of the race where you get points for this. There are typically sprints set up in the middle of the flat
So like
stages.
sections, basically.
Yeah, small sections, and they just have like flags designating this is where it starts, this is where it ends. You still have the sprinters that come through in the intermediate sprint, gain some points, and then you get a lot for winning that day, winning that stage of the day.
Are there any physical traits so you can identify who the sprinter is on the team?
All the quads.
All the quads, and they actually sometimes do have a little bit of like upper body
Torso
like
from
they
jerking the bars back
They
and
actually do
forth.
have some. So
So look for Arnold Schwarzenegger among all the pieces of spaghetti that are on
I
bicycles.
mean,
that big.
Andre
Not that
Greipel is like the perfect definition of what a like tour sprinter looks like because he just stands next to someone like Chris Froome, who's unfortunately not.
Or
gonna be
Kittle.
Or
Don't
Kittle.
forget Kittle.
That's true.
Yeah.
And there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of names we can throw in here, but like Greipel's my favorite because his race name was the Gorilla.
Well, so here's the thing, though, because I don't have as deep of an understanding as Merck or TC on this one. So when you have a sprint stage, then they're sprinting at only certain sections of that 100-plus miles.
Right.
Everyone else's job that day, even if you're in contention to win the Tour de France, might be what? Tow that guy along, give him a draft?
And now, I have a question for you. Do you know what the term is for that person?
A domestique.
Oh, very good.
I would, of course, know something French.
I mean, you could also say lead out in this world, too.
Well,
I mean,
what
the
sounds better?
domestiques
Lead
are the
out.
lead out people, too. So what Chris is saying is that there's the lead out, which starts about 5K, 5 kilometers out, so about 3 miles out. They start revving up the engine, so to say.
Yep.
In order to get a pace quickening slowly by little.
Wait, I know this. I saw this in the Ballad of Ricky Bobby. It's where they get
yeah,
slingshot.
somebody shouts shake and bake at
engaged.
the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so effectively, yeah, the ideal kind of lead out would be you'd have a 4-man team, 5K out. The first guy would be able to pull from 5 to 3K to go, pull off. So you got a 3-man team from 3 to 2, pull off, 2-man team, 2 to 1, and then close it out.
So it's fascinating, though. You still, how many members will be on a team?
And so this, I believe there's...
It's 8 now.
8 is the
Yeah.
official
So say
number,
you have 8. Let's say you have one sprinter. So on the sprint stage, though, the whole team might be pulling him through that, whereas in a different stage, a different type of race throughout, they might reverse roles.
Yes.
Now, well, here's kind of the odd situation. There are teams that will have a general classification rider going for the yellow jersey. And then there will be other teams that does not have the general classification rider that will be going for either the green jersey or even the white jersey, which is the
Let's
young
talk about
rider.
those jerseys. So let's nail these out here.
so-
We have green, which you
So we
said
have
was
green,
sprinter.
Yeah, green for the sprint
What's another?
points.
White would be the young rider. So that's under 25.
I'm gonna look that up.
Hey,
No, it is
Siri.
25.
Yeah, I was going to say. I'm surprised I didn't do it that time. So under 25. So how many of that peloton, though? That
Can we call
huge
them the
group-
Mr. Cleans?
Are there a lot of children out there that are under 25 that are cycling in the
Surprisingly,
mountains?
yes.
Is this
Surprisingly,
loud?
yes.
So
I think
rider-
I think the youngest rider is probably going to be about 21. Is the youngest I've really ever seen.
Yeah.
It really is a lot to do with the maturity of the body.
Now, is it kind of like the bumper sticker on the back of your car that's like, student driver? Like, here's the guy who hasn't raced much but's kind of fast, but he's
Or-
probably reckless.
No, that's what's
Or
on my
just-
bike.
Oh, okay.
Or if you go to a car racing scene, they'll put the black X on the back of your
Yes,
car,
yes.
so everyone knows, oh, that's the novice.
Yeah, if you see this guy cutting through, he might be dangerous. So they give him a special jersey. It really should just be a huge yellow caution vest.
Yeah.
But the white
Okay.
jersey only goes to the highest point for the youngest rider?
It's the youngest rider that's the highest person on the leaderboard.
Okay.
The GC.
The G.
leaderboard.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Dude.
And GC is the yellow jersey leaderboard.
Yeah.
There's
General
so many
classification.
There's so many terms in this racing world.
I
so-
am learning way too
Yeah.
much.
So we've got the yellow jersey, the Maillot Jaune, the GC, all 3 analogous terms. We've got the green jersey, sprint jersey, analogous terms. We've got the white jersey, the young rider jersey, analogous terms, and
What's the next?
My favorite jersey.
polka dots,
Yeah.
The polka dot is for what?
mountain stages, climbing,
King of the mountains.
king of the mountain.
Wow.
We have-
Sunday.
We now need to plug in not Wagner, Hall of the Mountain King in there.
Well, I just remember though, like when I was on my first couple group rides, people actually emulate and wear these. There's various jerseys,
Yep.
various
Yep.
teams, everything. And the first time I saw someone, I think it was Runel, one of our group riders. He was wearing like a polka dot jersey. I'm going, that is a bold man with fashion. I had no idea it was a racing
your place.
thing.
He's the king of the mountains in Illinois.
Yes.
Yes, the king of the mountain.
And
in Illinois.
here's the thing too, is that the yellow, green, and polka dot jerseys are just iconic jerseys to many other stage races.
So
Are
are
the
there
polka-
other ones? I mean, are there like 56 different flavors here to sell more merch or?
Yes.
Oh, well, great. What's the next one after polka dots? The guy who can climb the most fast or what?
Well,
Just
so
runs
I
the
think
mountains,
we
or-
do need to finish our definition of the polka
Yeah.
dot jersey. And so similar to the green jersey, the sprint jersey, you have these climbs, and the first person in the group to finish that climb wins the jersey, which is the climbs at the top of the mountain, which you just see this Herculean efforts as people just spend themselves to try to win those points or
Yeah.
get past that. One of my favorite polka dot jersey stories is Johnny Hoogerland,
Ah.
who had earned the points in the day to pull on the jersey. And then with about 30K to go, that's kilometers, was hit by a car, one of the team cars.
No.
Ejected
It was a
from
TV car. It
Was
wasn't
it
a team.
Okay,
yeah,
it was a TV car. Was ejected from his bike and landed in a barbed wire fence
Did he finish?
He did.
Yeah.
And so there's
Oh.
photos of him, and he's just torn apart. He gets.
I
you know,
saw
he
that
finishes,
on YouTube.
He's like
Mhm.
he's one of the last riders to finish on that day, but because he earned the points earlier in the day, he gets to pull on that jersey, and those podium pictures are amazing.
Yeah.
This man is just destroyed with, and I think he kept racing the next day.
He did. He
It's
raced
just
for like 3 more
ridiculous.
days.
But see, if the history wasn't there, that is a terrible consolation prize. I'm riding along, I get hit by a car,
Yep.
go through barbed
And I
wire.
get a polka
Here,
dot jersey.
buddy, here, have this jersey covered in polka dots.
Is it too dark to say that any jersey he'd put on after
Was
that
gonna be
would be
polka-dotted?
polka dotted?
Good point. Good point.
Oh yeah.
But the
That is
thing is,
amazing.
so I'm trying to imagine now. I've seen some of these races in the mountains. They might be 100 miles, or the mountain stage is typically as long as 100
Yep.
miles.
If not
And-
longer, yeah.
What kind of elevation might there be in a mountain stage? Are we talking?
And so
10,000,
one of the stages that I'm really excited about, just because there's one climb on there this is only the 7th time that's been in the Tour de France, and that's Tour de France, not of France. It's just a side note there. So I'm going to butcher the name of this climb, and it's the Col d'Iseran.
They're bringing the hobbits to Iseran. No, is that not it?
Wow.
I don't.
It's not in Mordor.
No.
Oh, damn. All right. So that was Isengard.
But that.
I mean, not only are they going up that, but they're going up Galibier
Yep.
D'Iseran?
and also the.
Tourmalet.
Now I'm going to kill this one.
I'm not far from it.
Izard.
The Izzard, yeah.
Yeah.
So
They named something out of Eddie Izzard?
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
So what kind
But
of
so all right,
elevation
so
might
so
there
what
be
I
on
love
that?
about that climb, so that's stage 19, is that is a nearly 9,000 foot climb in 34 miles.
So imagine doing a century.
Sorry, I just blacked out a
Yeah,
second.
exactly.
Could you say that again?
Not 9,000 over 100 miles.
No, it's 9,000 over 32 or 34 miles.
But
Who's
you
got a
still
calculator?
ride the other 7.
Well, yeah, there's just this segment that's, and so yeah, the first 20
Sounds
miles
terrible.
are at 4%. The last 12 or so miles are at an average of 7%. So it's just a
Wow.
brutal, and this is the 19th stage. You still have 2 days to ride after that.
So
and
you might have
that's
had
in the-
one rest day at that point.
No, you would have
You'd
had
have
2
two
at
already.
that
You would have
point.
had
Yeah.
2.
Mhm. So if anyone's ever done a 5,000 plus foot climb, it's exhausting. And so like I've done one of the ones in Utah where it was a 2-hour climb.
Well, no,
Did you do it 19 days in a row?
I didn't do it. I didn't do it 21 days in a row. No.
I want to break this down though. That's for every mile you go forward,
Yeah.
you go up 300 feet or 3 stories on
And
the-
that's 20 miles of start at 4% grade. Yeah.
So for beginners, that'd be the worst century ever.
Yeah.
We're doing 100 miles today, and then you do the first 70, and
Well,
then by the
so-
way, now 9,000 feet.
So if you were to take that climb and just put it in a
Still be
continuous
hard.
line 3 times, you would Everest before a century. And Everest is to climb 29,000 feet. That's if you do 29,000 feet in a day. That's called
I've been on
Everest.
that
Can I
floor.
take a bowling?
It sells lingerie, bowling balls, and string cheese, I believe.
So if you did 3 climbs at 32 miles per climb and about almost like 9,000, you're close to Everesting. It's just it's
So
just
that's,
a brutal.
and that's
climb.
just one day.
That's one day, but
That's
they're,
just one.
they're
That's
also,
just one climb of one day.
Right.
They're also climbing Tourmalet, which is an amazing climb
Yeah.
in itself.
Wow.
And I think they're doing Ventoux as well. I think I saw
Yeah,
something about that.
probably.
Which Ventoux is just, it looks like Mars. It's
Yeah.
so ridiculous. Yeah, we're listing a lot of different climbs. That's fine. You don't need to know all these. But if you watch the tour, you'll get to see them all, and they're all fantastic.
Yeah,
That's
it's
incredible.
it's nice watching them.
Are there other jerseys?
Nope, there's really the 4.
Then you also had, they'd be like, oh, and here's the Peloton. And I'm like, what is that Peloton?
Peloton.
Other than a cycle thing that you see at Christmas incessantly in your advertising for YouTube.
Well, yeah, it only costs $5,000.
So what is the Peloton exactly? Because there's multiple groups. It's not just the one pace
It's the
group.
total weight of
I
everything.
mean, when it starts, really, there's just the one pace.
So you
group,
start
and
with
then
the Peloton.
and then it
Yeah.
breaks apart.
The Peloton is
Break apart, yeah.
is the main riding group.
But then you said earlier that somebody's dragging it out to pull the pace. My understanding is that's the breakaway, and they sometimes jockey for position, and their whole job is to kind of get that group to speed up. They're the fire starters.
So one of the things that Merck talked about earlier was that you've got the teams that aren't going for that GC win. They've got this,
They
they're
don't
trying
want
to
the
get their
yellow jersey.
Yeah, they're trying to get their name out there. So you'll have a lot of times on some of the flatter, longer stages, single man breakaway. So you've got 140
Advertising
miles
billboard
ahead
on
of you.
140-pound man.
You know what? That's exactly right. It's
Yeah.
technically called the TV breakaway.
So you've got 140 miles ahead of you. You've got the race starts, and you've got it's a pretty pretty lazy, pretty calm start for everybody, except for this one guy who just bolts out.
He's like the
And just
he's
sprints
the
out.
rabbit that
Because,
pulls the greyhounds.
Hey, what's great advertising for your sponsor if you're the single person in front of all of the race for 100 miles?
And
Wow.
there is a reason why they race up towards the TV camera that's on the back of a motorcycle because it's
Show it off.
great
They get the draft.
advertising.
Yep.
Oh, it is a little bit NASCAR. It
yeah.
really
Oh, yeah.
is. The jerseys are just covered in sponsor names.
Well, the team names, it's all based on sponsorship and money, and it's great.
So what's it going to turn into a show tune with a guy like dancing out of the saddle and doing like weird choreography? It's not going to happen.
Well,
or
I
what?
mean,
No, that's a completely
So-
different cycling sport.
some would say that watching
like I
some
would do that.
riders climb
Yeah.
would be like dancing out of the saddle on some kind of weird choreography.
Well, I'm going to make a promise. If Crank Revolution ever gets an athlete who ends up competing in these events, it will be nothing but weird shenanigans behind a TV pace car.
Well, actually,
No,
no, that
because
would be the focus of our race team, correct?
Yeah, just
Yeah.
to be on camera.
Shenanigans.
That's it.
Shenanigans racing team.
Shenanigans race team.
yeah.
Shenanigans. Then there's another term of bridging the gap. Bridging the gap would be the one guy that goes, oh, hell, this Peloton is going way too slow. I need to get into the breakaway.
So he creates a second breakaway,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yep. And
Yep.
so yeah, they're the second breakaway until he bridges to the main breakaway or the first breakaway, and then that's a singular breakaway.
Well, because wait, Tour de Pharmacy or whatever it was, I remember a moment where they're all trying to go as slow as possible. Would the group really try to do that if there was no breakaway? Is there any advantage to conserve that much energy going 3 miles an hour like a club ride just to get to the end of 100 miles in
I
sprint?
mean, I would argue that professional riders trying to ride at 3 miles an hour would expend more energy than them pedaling at, say,
running your
18
Ferrari
miles
at
an hour.
idle for 18 hours.
Yes.
And in previous years, the pros have said that they hate some of the short flat days because
Mhm.
they don't do anything all day. They're just on the bike because that's what the TV told them to
Spinning
do.
out the lactose. That's all they're doing.
I was at a professional race once just watching it, and I got one of the musettes, which is the feed bag. The guy that tossed it off to the side left some of the product in there. I pulled out one of the goo packets.
Are you sure it was goo?
I don't
It
know.
was a Twinkie.
It
It was
was
15 Twinkies.
400 calories in just one of the goo packets.
Well, they need it. They're
packets
burning.
on
Oh, they're
steroids.
burning. Yeah.
People don't really realize, even though you have 8 teammates, there are some of them that are really never intended to win. Your job is
Yep.
not to win. And if you win, you're in trouble. Some people go fetch food from the car.
Or
Some
water
people
bottles.
That's
fetch
actually
water.
That's one of
Oh,
my favorite things
fetching
to
water
watch.
bottles is so fun to
Oh,
watch.
exactly. It's like a challenge for them to see how many water bottles they can put on their body.
Oh, yeah.
in their
down
jersey.
the shirt, up the shirt.
And so yeah, you'll see riders with like literally 20 water bottles just stuffed within their shirt. But so yeah, you'll have it occasionally where they pass from the race, the team car to the domestique would be the rider who's carrying the water bottles. Just this vest that's full of about 20 water bottles. They just throw on like a jacket.
Yeah, yeah.
And then ride back
I'm,
up.
I'm just imagining like 5 guys just coming right up along the domestique and they just each start stuffing bottles into his clothing.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, keep going, mule. We're not.
But,
we're
Well, no,
like-
they do
not
litter when they're empty. They're just throwing them on the road.
Oh, no, they
just
don't
toss 'em.
throw them
But
on
also-
the road. They launched them into the atmosphere.
it's actually really fun when you see like the full peloton, this pack of 40 riders stuffed in this pretty tight area, and you got the guy from the middle who's like, hey, I don't want this water bottle, and just tosses it with all the effort.
Well, you can't
to
just
clear-
throw it down
Because
into
he's got to
someone's
clear like at least
spokes.
10 riders, so he just throws it as
And
far as he can.
he can't drop it down because that's just going to cause someone to
Right.
hit the bottle.
But
Well,
also-
don't do this in a group. If somebody cleans all this up, I assume.
Well, actually, I mean,
oh, the
spectators.
spectators-
The spectators,
all
yeah,
of all the
it's-
water
it's-
bottles.
It's gone. The spectators, there's
Oh,
fights.
there's just-
I've watched fights over water bottles thrown by
do
professional
you have
riders.
any idea how much a water bottle costs?
Well, it's a lot like chess to me. And the reason it's like chess is you have all these specialists. One guy's fetching water bottles with vests. Another guy's grabbing
There's
food.
so much going
Some
on.
guys, their whole job is just to go out there and for the first 40 miles, burn yourself completely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Get out of the way because now that guy behind you, you've been giving him a gap of air for that 40 miles, saving him up. And there might be 3 or 4 guys you're just expending. Throw them away. Just expendable just to get your lead guy there.
But that's still part of the original 8 people on that team.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
not like they've got a guy on the bench. So it's like, all right, today your job
Right.
is to
Well,
carry
they
this.
all have
Yeah,
to do the
and then-
stages.
Exactly.
yeah.
And then
Yeah,
tomorrow you're doing the same thing.
And yeah, the race typically starts with about 200, 180 to 200 riders. And then by the end, there's only maybe 100 that finish. But I think Greg brought up well earlier when he was saying, why are there so few racers that actually finish?
Yeah, because if there's 200 that
Well,
leave,
apparently
and
team
100
cars are
left.
taking them out at a rate of like regular cycling Chicago.
Right, but how do you qualify for not being able to finish, but you still have to ride all of these events? Or am I misunderstanding?
Well,
Money,
so
money,
yeah,
money.
and so yeah, throughout the 21 days, you'll have riders that fall out due to illness, injury.
Yeah.
That's actually a lot of them because you'll have bike crashes and someone will fall and break a collarbone because that's one of the more common road cycling injuries, and then they're just gone because you can't really race with a broken collarbone.
No.
People will push it a few days after breaking their collarbone.
Why would they do that, though? Just for more points or just for recognition?
It'd be something where that would be, I would assume, a team conversation saying, hey, you're going to do this because we
Or you're
pay you to
fired.
do
It's
this.
also, don't forget, also the Tour de France
Also-
is a pride. Another way that they can drop out is actually a time limit.
Yep, time penalties, yeah.
So join us next week for tour updates, but don't be afraid now to go out to your local club ride or chill at your local cafe at 2 a.m. to watch the Tour de France. Because now you know some of the phrases.
Join us now as we expand your cycling nomenclature. Let's go to the keeper of cognition, the prophet of proficiency, the peddler of phraseology. Join us now with Professor Greg for Velo Vocabulary.
And yes, it is that time for us to review 2 words to get you ready for the Tour de France: the Queen Stage and the Sticky Bottle. And now, to go to Merck and the Pretty Pretty Princess Tea Party to get their definitions.
All right, guys, so welcome back. We have another Princess Tea Party with the Giggle Sisters. So you guys want to say hi?
Hi. Hi. Hola. Hi.
All right, so let's take a sip of tea.
Coffee.
Oh, God, you don't get coffee.
I want iced coffee.
No. The first phrase of the day is the Queen's Stage.
Dairy Queen.
All right, so what do you guys think the Queen's Stage is?
The Queen of England rides a bike. Are we talking in bicycle terminology?
Of course.
Maybe a really good bike that's fit for a queen.
Bike that fits for a queen. I like that answer too. Pass around the coffee again, and we'll get a little more excited. So the next word is sticky bottle.
So when you're riding a bike, you have a sticky bottle so you can't let go and you fall off of your bike. Maybe a sticky bottle's like a rusty gear. You drive over and it gets stuck to your wheel. Yeah, that's a good answer.
All right, Morgan, what about you? What do you think a sticky bottle is?
I don't know. I'm not gonna guess it.
That is what the kids think the Queen Stage is in a sticky bottle. So we're going to sign off for now from our tea party, and we'll see you again. Bye.
The sticky bottle, a very hot topic within the cycling world, oddly enough, only occurs on road racing. This occurs when the driver of the team car goes to pass a water bottle to the rider on the road. And for some reason, when he grabs that bottle, can't let go right away. There's something on that bottle. It must be a sticky bottle. We all know that professional cyclists would never do anything like this. One of the big things you're going to hear about during the Tour de France this year is going to be the Queen Stage. This is the hardest, most demanding stage of the entire race. It is always in the high mountains. Traditionally, the person who wins the Queen Stage wins the entire tour.
And that, my friends, has been Velo Vocabulary.
So today on Crank Revolution, we've got Kristen Wade, coach and manager of Braveheart Coaching Chicago, manager of Misfits Endurance Triathlon Club, field instructor for the Illinois Fire Service Institute, former race director for Holiday Man Triathlon Series, Sunto Factory team member, and 2018 Miss Xterra. And if that's not enough for you, she's the brigade captain for Sugar Grove, Illinois Fire Department. I don't even know where to start with all of those titles that come with you.
Well, it's battalion chief, if that helps a little.
I'm sorry. You know, we actually did do research ahead of time, and we're like, we have to make sure we're accurate. We don't want to look foolish.
Yeah.
Oops, that's on me. Sorry.
How many battalions do you have, Greg?
Not even one. So how are you doing today?
I'm good. Full belly. We just finished dinner.
So happy to have you on today. Mike and I officially met you, what was it, at Barry-Roubaix this year in 2019?
You met her at Barry,
in March.
yes.
Okay, where did you meet?
Kristen and I know each other through actually a mutual friend. Last fall at Dust at Dusk, wasn't it?
Yes. Yes.
But so my assignment was when I was at Barry was to find some inspiring riders to talk to and get a brief interview. And so could you give us a brief breakdown of what Xterra is?
Yeah, absolutely. So Xterra is essentially just off-road triathlon. It's taken triathlon and taken it to the dirt. You know, we have the swim, and then we do a mountain bike race, and then we do a trail run. And they're varying distances. The local events are usually shorter distances, and the regional races and the championship races are a little bit longer. They would be equivalent to, I'd say, an Olympic distance triathlon. So somewhere in the neighborhood of 2.5, 3 hours, and then upwards from there.
Could you give us a breakdown of what a distance is for the swim, the bike, and the run?
The regional and championship races are usually about a 1,500 meter swim, an 18 to 20 mile mountain bike, and then a 10K run.
Where would you do one of these types of events?
Oh, all over the world. They're all over the world. Right now, Xterra is really booming over in Asia. They have them in Asia. They have them in France. They have them in South and Central America. There's a few regional races in the United States, in Canada. I mean, you name it, you can find one.
You don't have to travel far to just participate in one of these.
No, the local races, at least for the Midwest, we're pretty lucky in that regard. We have one in Peoria. It actually just happened earlier in June. There's a couple in Indiana. From there, we used to have some in Wisconsin. There's some in Michigan now. So we're pretty lucky in that regard. Championship races for the continental U.S. would be Beaver Creek and then Alabama right now. And then the World Championship is held historically in Maui.
And how many of these events have you visited?
I've done this since 2012, about half a dozen a year. A lot.
How do you find the time with all the things you do?
You make time for things that you love doing. Being a firefighter affords you a really awesome schedule. You work shift, so I'm on 24 hours and I'm off 48. So essentially I have 2 days in between. And I can work out and train on duty as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, half of your job is, training.
Training, yeah. That's a lot of physical.
All right, today we're going to be breaking down all of the doors with this giant axe. And this is going to be great for the bike.
So luckily, I don't have to do breaking down the doors anymore. I have people for that. So that's what happens.
Battalion chief.
You hear that?
Chief Greg.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah.
There's an expectation for a certain level of fitness that you should have. You got to walk the walk. You can't expect your people to be in shape and then not be in shape yourself. You find something that you have a passion for and you chase it.
She's so
no matter where it takes you. Right, Mike? It takes you all over the place.
Absolutely. That is true. I've been told that with my travel budget. So
yeah.
I'm trying to figure out which way the days off are. Is it that you're like a trained athlete and then you escape to go firefight, or you're a firefighter that escapes for 2 days to go race professionally?
Now we're asking the hard questions. Where's it in your mind?
I like the latter, that I'm a firefighter that escapes to go race.
I remember someone getting a small title last year that was Miss Xterra 2018.
I'm not going to toot my horn. I do what I love, and if I do it well, that's awesome, and sometimes you don't do it well. I mean, right now, my husband and I have decided that this year we're not going to do any Xterras. We're going to just see what we can do as single sport athletes and ride our bikes a lot. And I've found that, a lot of these mountain bike races that I've done, I'm down at the bottom of the finishing list. I'm not on the podium right now, and there's always a bigger fish in the sea, and that's humbling to me, is that you can always improve, you can always be better.
No, I think it's absolutely right, and it's important to always be trying to strive for that next challenge, because otherwise you'll turn into me, where last year you peaked, you did great, you did a whole bunch of cycling events, and this year you're like, yeah, my next event's in 110 days, and yeah, I really don't feel like starting training.
Just have a
this
Netflix
month.
day.
Yeah, it's like, I just want to eat some Oreos and look at Zwift on my iPad. I don't actually want to do it.
He watches other people on Zwift.
I get a...
are you a Zwift stalker? You're a Zwift creeper?
Yeah, I am. I admit that. I got a following this past winter. I have 10 followers. I feel like I've made it.
So, Kristen, though, I think listeners, though, would love to hear about the Ms. Xterra, though. How does one get that recognition? How do you go about earning that?
It was crushing every opponent right into the dirt and grinding them down, right?
No, I'm not really sure how much your results play into it. I mean, I'm sure that probably helps too, but I think a lot of it is the attitude and kind of living what they like to say is the live more philosophy. You do it all and you do everything, and you really have a zest for life, and you really try to promote that with others around you. influence them, encourage them, support them, be their cheerleaders, living life and living more, like they said. That's how you get it. I'm guessing that there was some sort of board that voted on people. I don't know if people nominated me. I'm not really sure how that happened, how my name was drawn or brought up, but somehow it was, and somehow everyone was able to pull it over on me and keep it a surprise until I was called up on stage in Utah and
That's awesome.
Given this award. I really had no idea. My husband knew for a couple weeks. Even the guys that I work with knew because they had to submit some photos of me professionally. So that was a surprise.
Plus, it's probably a great reward.
Yeah.
You said let's not look at results, but you did have a lot of different amazing accomplishments that year.
Yeah, I did pretty good. I was named regional champion. I think it was for the 4th year. There might have been one year where I didn't get it. Winning my age group, I was always racing for overall wins, not necessarily just age group wins, but Xterra
Spoken like
really
a competitor.
values.
Yeah, I was like, there's a competitive attitude coming out.
I mean, that's in my mind, that's who I'm racing, the guys and the girls. Xterra really focuses on the age group.
Because in some of the research that I did for that was saying that is a board, but it's a very large pool of people that just vote in to see who's the most inspirational, who absolutely crushed it, and who is everyone looking up at going, how do I become this person? I wouldn't say that it's just, yeah, I got voted and it was a thing. I mean,
well, see, you know way more about it than I do because I was actually curious how they came upon my name. You know, I know it's for everyone who does Xterra across the world. Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
I mean, it's
and it is humbling. Like, wow, that's a big deal.
Well, there you are. You're exemplifying those attributes that they nominated you for.
Well, you know you're doing something right when you accidentally win something like that.
That's true.
I did some stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you're pretty much equating this to you were the MVP of Xterra for the year.
Yeah, because it can be a male or a female. They've voted. There's ex-pros that have won it. So yeah, it is a big deal. I am really honored to have that award. I mean, if you guys knew me when I started riding my mountain bike, I can remember my husband Al taking me out to one of the forest preserves around here. Because, you know, Illinois doesn't have actual forests, at least up near Chicagoland. Everything
has a lot of great mountains, though.
Yeah, tons.
Yeah,
tons
I know,
of
right?
great mountain biking.
Great mountains. I was so reluctant to ride my mountain bike. I was on a 26-inch Klein that he got me off eBay, and I hated it. I remember just throwing my hands up, throwing the bike down, and a lot of tears and a lot of swearing. And I'm like, this isn't for me. This is not for me. This is too hard. It took a long time for me to want to conquer that. And I'm still learning flow. I'm still learning how to bunny hop. I'm definitely not where my husband is. He's been doing it his whole life. He's the pinnacle, and I strive to be that good.
So then I have to ask then, given your initial hatred for the mountain bike, how did you find yourself getting into Xterra?
Because I won my first race.
Okay, that's fair.
So what? Kentucky Trot?
I love that you win and you're like, I like this.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it was. I mean, I won the first Xterra I entered, and I'm like, well, maybe I can do this. And so I tried again, and that one I came in second, and I'm like, well, maybe it wasn't a fluke. Maybe I can do okay. It felt good to win. So you're right. You got a taste of winning, and you're like, man, this is awesome.
I really like the view from on top of this podium. Everyone's looking up at me. This is fantastic.
It was awesome because, I mean, I was so nervous doing that race the first time. I had crashed pretty hard on the pre-ride. I have no business out here. I don't know what I'm doing. You know, it turns out I did.
That's a wonderful affirmation, right?
Yeah.
So explain what the difference between an adventure race and an Xterra race is.
So an adventure race is, although Xterra is an adventure, but an adventure race would be, you might have to do some orienteering, you might have to do some biking, hiking, you might have to do some problem solving. Sometimes there's a kayak or a canoe element. Have you heard of the Eco Challenge? I don't even know if they call it Eco Challenge anymore.
Oh,
that was the one like the Navy SEALs used to do, a multi-day event.
Oh yeah,
where
we do it all the time.
Well, that's an adventure race. There's all different disciplines in an adventure race, not just the three.
So can we touch on the fact that you said that you have to navigating yourself through there? Like you have a compass. They don't even tell you where the next checkpoint is. They're like, all right, we're going to see you at 8 p.m. Good luck.
Yeah, pretty much. You have to hit certain checkpoints and get punch card. And all the punch cards are different, and you work as a team to get to that point. So I might not have been the one running the compass. I might have been the one who, hey, you need to walk 10 paces this direction, and then we'll turn and we'll go to another direction. And eventually in the woods, you might find that checkpoint.
Mike and I are going to sign up for one of these next year, but Google Maps is going to be our third partner.
Yes.
Right. And this
Exactly.
this was before all that. Like, cell phones were like, you had them, but they weren't like they are now.
Flip phones, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, like the Razor.
You've done all of that training. You've done all of these events. And then at what point did you cross paths with the Sunto factory where they were like, we need you to represent us?
There's 200 or so athletes across the country that are on the factory team. There's a multi-sport team where there's 50 of them, and they do just strictly triathlon, I believe. And then the factory team, we're all different athletes.
I mean,
you should apply to companies that you actually use.
Oh, so it's time for me to ask Desitin to sponsor me.
Yes. Right? Yes.
For those that don't know, Mike.
Or what did you say? Oreo.
Yes. There you go.
There you go.
I'm the official Oreo sponsored athlete.
Yes. I mean, that would be awesome.
Just reaching my feed bag, stuffing my face with double stuff. That's an inspiring tale.
I did Ironman Chattanooga in 2014, and it was title sponsor was Little Debbie.
Awesome.
That's
awesome.
fantastic.
Isn't that funny? And there were so many memes going around before that on the page. We used to like to call them the panic pages because all the athletes are on there and they're always panicking last minute about stuff, and it's kind of funny to read some of the questions.
So is there any advice on how many of those pastries you need to stuff into your wheel if you get a flat during a try?
No,
17.
but I have a story for you about flats and wrappers for cookies. But Honey Stinger, I'm going to give a shout out to Honey Stinger, and they don't sponsor me or anything.
They are the official non-sponsor of Crank Revolution snacks. No, it's okay.
They're super, super tasty. But I want to say that wrapper saved my husband. We did the Schwamigan 100 mountain bike race 2 weekends ago, and it's 100 miles a single track, which is just amazing that there's 100 miles a single track that you don't repeat. But and it's up in Hayward, Wisconsin, Northwoods. He gets a flat at mile 37, and we booted the tire with a Honey Stinger wrapper, and it held for 70 miles.
I saw a picture of that. We were just trying to come up with ideas one day, like, what should we talk about? And I was on Facebook. I saw this, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah. So for anyone naysayers who said that doesn't work, it works.
Well, yeah, it's because of all the honey in there. It gets stuck between your teeth and everything.
Well, it's a cookie. No, it's just a wrapper. We ate the cookie.
When you have an experience fixing bikes for a lifetime, that probably helps a little bit, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that is true with Al. That's true. But even he said he had never actually seen it work. So we were kind of like
experimental surgery.
There was 27 possible things going through his head, and he's like, "I'm going to do it with a cookie wrapper.
I'm going to do it. I got nothing to lose."
I mean, how bad could the downhills be? We'll go ahead.
Yeah.
And it was the rear tire too. It's not like it's important or anything.
Yeah. I mean, it was sliced. You saw the picture, right?
It was like a 2-inch gash.
It was a long slice. Yeah.
Yeah. So props to Honey Stinger, and I do want to write them a letter and tell them the story.
Yeah, because everyone talks about goo packets. You don't hear Honey Stinger packets.
We're now speaking to the 2020 Honey Stinger athlete sponsored by Honey Stinger.
So we just helped her get that. That's awesome.
That's how you do it.
Can't do that with a stroopwafel.
Yeah, you gotta hustle.
You're on notice,
like the
Goo.
same thing.
How did you make the move into coaching?
So in 2008, my husband and I started Misfits Endurance Coaching, which we dubbed MEC, that's the acronym, and kind of ran with that for a while. And that was kind of like an offshoot for our Misfits Triathlon or Endurance Club that we have, which, by the way, I know you mentioned it earlier, but we don't have a ton of members right now. It's like maybe a handful of us, but
you plug
we're
it?
a hardy bunch.
Yeah, plug it,
We're
please.
a hardy bunch nonetheless.
Well, tell us how to find us so we can plug that for you.
On Facebook, we're Misfits Endurance and Triathlon Club.
What's your MySpace handle?
I don't have MySpace, man. Do you? No one has MySpace.
He's the last one with a MySpace.
No,
I think it
it's
still
him
exists.
And Tom still. It's him and Tom still.
I'm out. What kind of operation are you running here?
So with the Misfit Club and the coaching,
right?
What prompted you guys to start that?
Well, I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that we had to kind of forge those waters as far as triathlon goes and figure it out for ourselves, and we thought it would be a great idea to help others who were new to it figure that out too for them. Give them all those rules and tips and answer those questions for them, because there's a lot of questions when you're starting into triathlon.
Like, don't use mayonnaise.
Like, are you supposed to wear underwear under your bike shorts? I can't tell you how many people ask that, which it's a common question. And are you afraid to ask that question?
And they'll never stop.
Well, see, you're talking to a bunch of bike shop managers here. Actually, Mark and I both ran bike shops. You're right. That is such a common question. And you have to break it to them gently, like, no, literally, don't do that.
I even have people I know that call me before a ride. Am I supposed to? No. Just no.
Yeah, no. You just know what the question is. I mean, there's a lot of questions like that. Can I wear a snorkel or fins in the swim? What if I can't finish the swim?
What about an aqua lung?
A lot of people are afraid of the swim. This kind of open water panic that they develop, and we just wanted to help people navigate the waters so that they would have a successful experience. And not just for triathlon, but endurance sports in general, because we coach cyclists, single sport athletes too.
So, Kristen, as a trainer, just one question on nutrition. Is it ever acceptable to substitute chamois butter for your goo?
I've heard this story before. Actually, I listened to your podcast, and I heard
you're actually
we have a listener.
Uh-oh.
I have a counter to that. My bug spray leaked all over the inside of my Camelback the other weekend at Schwamigan, and I think it leached into the bladder. So is it ever okay to drink bug spray?
This is a brilliant new idea. She drinks this, and her sweat automatically puts the bug spray where she doesn't want to get bit.
She's near places that have EMTs, so when this goes terribly wrong, she's safe.
So in that training, though, that you do with people that want to do their first triathlons or single sports, what do you find is often your first focus with them?
We send out a questionnaire to them to kind of get some basic background on their level of experience. And from there, we might have a sit down with them, answer any questions they might have, especially if they're brand new to it. Because a lot of it's, well, what kind of equipment do I need? Do I need to go buy a several $1,000 bike firsthand? Do I need to buy a TT bike, or will a road bike work? Do I need to be clipped in or not? Do I need a wetsuit? Pointing them in the right direction so they aren't spending an arm and a leg, get the most bang for their buck. That's the kind of stuff we focus on primarily. Can I give one quick plug?
Yeah, everything. Yes.
Our current company that we run, I think you mentioned it earlier, was Braveheart Coaching Chicago. So we coach off-road triathletes, road triathletes, single sport endurance athletes, gravel riders, road cyclists, trail runners.
I could use some coaching.
Hey, Mike, looking for a coach?
Yeah.
I know one. We do it all. I just wanted to throw that out there. And we're braveheartchicago.com. Also, Braveheart Chicago on Facebook.
Thanks again for coming on the show today. I've been really looking forward to having you on and discussing Xterra and all the other awesome things that you've done so far. Kristen Wade, everybody.
Yes, thank you for everything you've done and what you're currently doing also in public service. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Kristen.
Well, thank you.
Stay safe out there.
Thank you. You guys too, fellas.
So, Mike Nichols, your last week was full of riding, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I had...
How many sores do you have?
Well, I am sitting on an inflatable donut right now, so...
I don't know if that's hemorrhoids or saddle sores. Please tell us more. That doesn't violate HIPAA.
Most definitely saddle sores, yeah.
Saddle sores. Ooh,
So
how far was this ride? What was the length and duration?
So it was 375 miles. No, that's
Where was
not
this
it.
ride, though? Tell us more.
So it was out of Woodstock, down and over to Oregon, Illinois.
Home of Groundhog Day, for those of you visiting Illinois.
Yes, that is correct.
And one scene from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Groundhog
Because
Day.
people want to get married and get their photos done with Punxsutawney Phil.
I wonder
That's
what happened to
exactly
the poor thing. It probably died, didn't it?
Yeah.
He was a great cyclist.
He was.
Of those 375 miles, tell us more about your experience. You're like one of those ultra endurance guys now.
So, Ronde Nord.
I like how you just corrected me in French. Thank you.
I wish you had a nice sound of the backhand that he gave you.
Just backslap.
I do not care for your words. I will correct you in the way I see fit.
My butt may be covered in sores, but still I'm a rondonneur. Woodstock, Illinois. What time did you roll in the morning?
So we left at 5 a.m. on Saturday morning. We did our first just shy of 250 miles. We ended up rolling in just after 2 a.m.
Well, think about that, though. It's one of those things. 250 miles at any speed is still 250 miles, but he's like lamenting he didn't push harder.
The time on the bike is as painful as the distance you're putting in.
Few less saddle sores.
Exactly. Yeah, so we get in at 2 a.m. We
250 miles happen.
5-hour layover. 3 hours of that were nursing saddle stores, taking care of the drivetrain on the bike, getting up, getting breakfast, and then 2 whole hours of sleep.
Wait, so what did you have to do on the drivetrain? What did you do to it for the first bit?
No, wait, he said 5 hours, and he took care of his saddle, so
That's
it was
where I'm going.
for 3 hours, and then you slept for 2.
Well, no, first of all, I can't move quickly once I get off the bicycle at that point. So every movement is a slow movement.
He's like a sloth. I just picture him getting into a hotel and just slowly clawing along the wall.
There's someone holding the door that's just like, "Sir, will you come here, please?" And Mike's like, "Yeah, no, I'll
You're not far
hold
off.
on, I'm thank you for holding the door. Thanks."
Day 2 was another 125 miles. And that was up through the Kettle Moraine.
So it's a 1.5 century plus a century
Plus
and
a
a
metric.
quarter.
Yeah.
Double metric and
Yeah.
a quadruple metric.
And you did this because you were running to rescue your family, like in Taken with Liam Neeson?
No, this was
Not quite, no.
This was because it was a giant race that whoever finished first gets $1 million.
Yeah, no, you get absolutely nothing. If you want the medal associated with the ride, you have to pay for the medal.
Hey, we're going to give you an award that you pay for.
Exactly. Actually, backing up. So one of the reasons, the things that attracted me to the whole rondineuring thing in the first place,
Being able to buy your own medals.
all these runners get all this bling for every little thing. 10K, 5K. Here's a medal like the size of like a VW.
The badge on the front of
Yeah.
the van type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like an 80s rapper just all hanging around.
Yeah, they've
on
got one
chains
that
on
looks
the
like
back.
Flavor Flav. It's got a big clock on the front.
But cyclists,
those
we go out
runners.
ride at Grand Fondo. What do we walk away with?
Saddle sores.
Exactly nothing. Nothing.
Well,
I
what
take
you don't
pictures of mine.
realize, because you roll in near the back, they
Hold on,
gave
hold on.
away all the awards in the front. That's why you don't get them.
Oh,
Did you say you take pictures of your saddle sores,
Well,
Mark?
that's my award.
That's how he has it. It's like a family wall.
Yeah.
Every photo is an epic ride he did and the medical repercussions from it. I like how we just talked about how ridiculous 600. Are you with me, Greg? Are you okay, bud?
Nah.
You're still thinking about Mark's saddle sore photos. He'll just show them to you.
Yeah,
It's fine.
I'm just imagining that you have like a full photo album on display on your coffee table.
No, it's like Pinterest. It's a scrapbook.
I'm just
he shows it
imagining-
to people at holiday gatherings at Thanksgiving. I'll tell you this, though. If I do live at least 1 year longer than you, I will make sure that scrapbook of your saddle sores is at your Ugoogly.
You Google it.
Yeah, you remember Zoolander, the Ugoogly.
Eulogy. The word you're looking for is eulogy.
They're going to get up and they're going to be like, Jeremy, say a few kind words about your podcast co-host. I'm going to be like, here are the saddle sores for May 1972. We're going to go page by page.
The
It'll be
man
wonderful.
rode hard, and this is what he got for it.
I'm not that old.
Well, in 1972, how old were you?
1.
47.
One? You weren't riding a bike yet? All right, you're off the show. Now, lately you've been riding on what bike?
So, Specialized Roubaix, the shock absorber and the handlebar,
Future shock.
Yeah.
has been outstanding. It helps take off some of the edge on some of those bumps. Also, their Cobble Gobbler seat post, outstanding.
Did you say like a 15th century weird blacksmithy term? Did you say cobble gobbler? So what is the name of that seat post that you just said? Was it, wait.
Cobble
Brick and
gobbler?
hopper cobbler gobbler? What was it?
That sounds like a
Brick and
fantastic
hopper
dessert.
cobbler gobbler.
It sounds like an alcohol cocktail.
Mike's New Jersey name, he'll have that on
The
the
Gobble
back.
Cobbler, yes.
Is that
What?
The gobble cobbler.
Is that what it's called?
No, the Cobble Gobbler. Ridiculous amount of vibration. The seat post gobbles it up.
So what do you put on your saddle sores?
Oh.
Neosporin, Vaseline?
Diaper rash ointment.
Sriracha.
Wait,
Sriracha?
wait, diaper rash?
Desitin. It's literally
Desitin.
it's
The baby powder you sprinkle on babies'
yeah,
butts.
it's like an ointment. It's a paste.
Don't look at me when you say that. I don't know what that means.
I learned this last year. So last year I attempted my first 1,000K. Didn't finish it. And what stopped that particular ride was saddle sores. So I learned a lot from a whole lot of more experienced riders than myself. Got a lot of advice last year.
I'd love to see the one like totally jacked up cyclist coming up. You know what to do. You put Desitin baby butt powder on your butt. You just rub it in there and you put it on the hole. It's good. Is that how it happened? Tell me that happened.
All I thought about was somebody's reaching in their back pocket and going, yeah, you need this.
The best part is you don't even ask or anything. They just watch you get off the bike and they go, nope. This
Yeah,
is what you need.
exactly.
Well, actually, how I came by the particular tube of Desitin that I have was I was
You
on
robbed a baby. We know.
I was on the Natchez Trace, which, for anyone who's familiar with that road, has no services on the actual road. You have to get off of an exit.
So when you're saying
go into it.
services, describe that. You're talking about grocery stores,
Yeah, so
food,
gas
commercial.
stations,
right?
nothing commercial on the road.
Childcare.
Yes.
There are plenty of things that are slightly off of it, but there's nothing directly on the trace.
Well, you weren't there. You wouldn't know.
I was there.
He
You
was
would
there.
know.
He was just fixated on my hiney for the most part.
So is everybody on Facebook.
Brought to
who
you by
follows you.
Desitin Baby Powder.
Not powder paste.
Paste. Now in 2 flavors.
Chocolate, and I can't believe that's not chocolate.
Yes.
Anyone I could run into, I'm like asking advice. On this last ride, definitely helped. Riding the really long stuff that pushes you way beyond your comfort level. What it does is it increases how far you can go and it still be recreational and fun.
Mike kisses his wife, goes, "Honey, I will see you tomorrow for dinner. My children, my lovely children, I will see you both. Have a wonderful weekend." Then he gets on the bike, and he's gone for 2 days. He comes back at dinner time, smelling like a hobo after sweating in the sun for 2 days
Covered
straight.
in Desitin.
Covered in Desitin. Dad, did you have a great time? Oh, you know it, kids. I had a swell time out there on the bicycle for the 2 hours of sleep I've had. If you don't mind, I'm going to take a nap because I'm hallucinating right now.
So another thing that's very exciting, Mike, is you've kind of gone from this ultra endurance athlete now that you're kind of like doing the Don King promotion thing. You've like jumped into full race promoter here, but you've got not a race.
It's a brewery tour, the Trail Hoppin' Brewery Tour. So we're talking, we've got a short course of 35 miles and we've got a long course of 57 miles. So on the long course, we've got 6 breweries. On the short course, we've got 5. So you're averaging more than 1 brewery per 10 miles. After the ride, we have this incredible raffle. That includes a ton of prizes that are donated by the sponsors.
That's awesome.
Half Day Brewing's in there. Basaki's Homebrew up in Mundelein. Prairie Crafts up in Buffalo Grove. We got Tidehead Brewing that's in there.
So if you love beer, you really should do this. Even if you're new to cycling, it sounds like the first one was like 35, 40 miles, right?
Yeah.
So anyone can
absolutely.
do that. Well, now, how many registrations do you have so far?
So far this year, we have 50 registrations.
So if you really want to go to an event that already has 50 people that are going to hit all these breweries, they're sponsoring and raffling off items, where does someone sign up for this? It sounds amazing.
You want to go to www.bikeredge.com/trail-hoppin-brewery-tour.
So how about this? We'll make it very simple. If you'd like to sign up for the Trail Hoppin' Brewery Tour, though, jump on Facebook, go to Crank Revolution Media, and it'll be an announcement tag to the top where you can actually click to register to be on the Mike Nichols Trail Hoppin' Brewery Tour. Coming up in what date?
September 21st.
So you heard it here first. September 21st here, the Trail Hoppin' Brewery Tour out of the Northern Illinois area on the Des Plaines River Trail, hitting multiple breweries here with Mike Nichols.
We'll be headquartered out of Half Day Brewing.
And I'm back. Well, friends, that's been another episode of the Crank Revolution podcast. Thanks for listening. Toss us up a rating on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts and refer it to your friends. If you want to interact with us, go to Crank Revolution Media at Facebook. If you end up in the Illinois area, look up Crank Revolution Group Rides. And always remember, we want your feedback at crankrevolutioncycling@gmail.com. Grab your bike, get out there, and join us in this Crank Revolution.